Okay, so let's be honest, the guidelines over here in the UK are still not quite what we're wanting, but let's make it work in our favour, shall we? This week, I have got some great ideas to really bring to life part of your wedding where the guidelines aren't really working for us. Hello, lovely couples, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lauren, wedding planner and owner of Bluebird Creative. I provide a weekly dose of wedding planning goodness for the modern couple. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the bell because then you'll be notified every Wednesday when a new video lands. This week, we are going to talk about your drinks reception. Now, let's be honest, currently over here in the UK, we can't quite have the drinks reception that we're hoping for. We have to sit down. We can't go get a drink. We can't stand up and mingle. It's not quite what we're used to. It's still okay, but it's not quite the drinks receptions that we know. We can't have canapes handed around to us because there's risk. So I have come up with 6 fun ideas to do during your drinks reception that fit within the guidelines, that continue social distancing and that are just fun. So my first idea is more along the lines of food as opposed to entertainment or drinks, and I can't wait to get onto some of the others, but we'll get there in a minute. The first one is to do with food, and it is one of my favourite ways to do food. I love a grazing board. In fact, I even did that during COVID for part of my business. Now, obviously you can't have canapes handed around to you during a drinks reception at the moment. But what I've seen some companies doing is doing graze cups, which I think is wicked. They're small portion cups, 1 per person, and they're filled with cheese and charcuterie, or they're filled with crudités, or some people are doing sweet ones, which I don't advise for a drinks reception. But I think it's a great way. You get an individual portion, a little graze cup. It's open, so you can just pick at it whilst you're having a drink, sat down before you go through to the wedding breakfast. So my first fun idea is to have graze cups as an alternative to the canapes that we can't necessarily have at the moment. Another food idea lends itself more to being outside, which again, the regulations are then a little bit more relaxed because it's a ventilated area, it's outside, and you also don't have to have masks on. I thought you could introduce a s'mores station or just s'mores areas. So you could perhaps have some hay bales set out, socially distanced around a fire pit, and you could have little s'mores sets or packs set at each hay bale, which guests can then help themselves to their own individual pack, and they can all sit around little fire pits and toast their own s'mores whilst they have a drink and a chat around a fire pit, which could be quite a nice bit of entertainment, also a bit of food. That may even lend itself to later on in the evening because obviously it's still going to be daytime during the drinks reception, but just another fun idea for you to consider as an alternative. If you are having an indoors drinks reception, this is obviously where the regulations are a little bit tighter, and so I thought perhaps doing a Mr. and Mrs. quiz could be quite fun. If guests sat down, they obviously can have a chat with the people that are sat in the area where they're sitting. Does that even make sense? So you can have little clusters of seats for guests to sit around and have a chat. You could also have the bride and groom go into the centre of the room and do a Mr. and Mrs. quiz for a little bit of fun and something different and a little bit of different entertainment. I've seen it where the bride and groom have a shoe from their other half and a shoe from themselves in each of their hands, and somebody will ask, maybe the toastmaster or maybe the best man, they will ask them questions. Who is most likely to be found in the cupboard at midnight after a night out finding the snacks? And then they'll hold up the shoe with which one of them they think it is. They're both sat in the centre with their backs to each other on chairs as well. So that's a really fun bit of entertainment that's a little bit different that you could do during the drinks reception. Another idea for the drinks reception is to have singing waiters. Now, we are allowed entertainment at the moment, and especially outdoors you can have more entertainment and acts moving around and dancing and singing. So perhaps having singing waiters as a bit of a surprise to your guests as the waiters are coming around serving the drinks to the areas where guests are seated for the drinks reception, they can then go into a bit of an entertainment act themselves, which is really good fun, and again just adds a different level because guests can't mingle in the way that they could. My next idea for your drinks reception isn't really new, it's done quite a lot, but it could work quite nicely, is mini golf. Now, don't think you'd be able to take your drinks around with you on the mini golf, but it is still socially distanced. You can go round. Obviously, each hole is socially distanced. You can either go around in your couples, in your households, or you can just make sure that you're 1 metre apart because it's outside in a ventilated area. So you could do that as a little bit of entertainment because you can't really mingle, and then you can go and sit down and have a drink on, say, the hay bales that we mentioned earlier. My final idea for the drinks reception, this is my absolute favourite idea, okay? It might not be for everybody, and that's okay, but I love it as an alternative. I definitely want to see somebody doing it, and if you're having a wedding and you're thinking of doing it, and you're thinking of having a coordinator and you're in the UK, then hit me up. I want to do your wedding because it's going to be fun. This idea is Prosecco Pong. You can so be socially distanced and do Prosecco Pong at your wedding. You have the drinks already at the table. You're at a table. You're socially distanced from the person opposite you, and you can have different tables socially distanced, and you can all be playing Prosecco Pong. You could then have somebody come and wipe down the tables, and you can change players. It could be so much fun. I'm pretty sure that fits with the guidelines, but do double check them. They are changing all the time, but I think that would work really nicely, and it's just so much fun. You would obviously have to do this outside, guys. A lot of these do lend themselves to being outside, and obviously the restrictions are a lot more relaxed if you're outside because it is a ventilated area, and you're obviously allowed more people outside as well. So if you have got a wedding venue that has an outside space, try and utilise it. If you can put a marquee up, then try and use that, because again, that then counts as a venue. You just need to have the sides up. It is all really confusing at the moment. I really do appreciate that. I'm just trying to come up with some fun ideas to keep the light and to keep the positivity for you guys, because I know that the announcement the other week was a little bit of hard news for some people, but it is a step in the right direction, and we just need to remain positive and remain focused. And I am really sorry if you're in those 4 weeks over here in the UK that have been affected, but let's just keep our fingers crossing, our positive pants on, that things are going to keep moving in the right direction, and come the end of July, hopefully we're going to see even more loosening of the rules. I will link some good sources of information for the guidelines over here in the UK, and What About Weddings campaign and the UK Task Force, who have been pushing to government to help them understand our needs as an industry, your needs as couples, and they've also just broken down the guidelines to a much more digestible and understandable way of reading it. Does that even make sense? Because it does give you a headache going through the guidelines. It just doesn't all make sense. You have to go through it so many times. So hopefully if you follow those links, that will actually help you understand what we're looking at a little bit more. So there you go, guys. A little bit of fun today. If you're doing Prosecco Pong, let me know in the comments. I want to do your wedding. Literally, the energy and the fun would be amazing. I hope you found this week's video helpful, guys. And if you have got any fun ideas for drinks receptions that work within the guidelines, then pop them in the comments box below. I would love to hear them. Share them with all of us. The more ideas, the better. Hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I will be back next week with some more wedding planning goodness. Have a fab week, guys.